business was actually started in very, very unexpected terms. So I always tell people I was not one of those little girls that grew up and said, when I grow up, I'm going to have a wonderful skincare line. No, that was not my story at all. This journey actually started when my daughter Taylor was born with eczema. And there, it said the host muted me again, not sure. But anyway, I was a new mom. I'm just looking for natural remedies to treat her eczema. I did not want to put harsh steroids on her skin. I didn't want to put any harsh chemicals on her skin. So I literally got in my kitchen and I started mixing concoctions together to help treat her eczema. And the good news is they worked. And so back then I would give them out as like birthday presents, Mother's Day gifts, like, hey, sis, here you go. Happy birthday, when money was tight. And, this is a labor of love. And here's a gift from the heart. And I would just give them away. And again, never dreaming that it would become a national skincare line. And so later, I was working as an administrative law judge for the state of Michigan, handling unemployment hearings when suddenly and without notice, due to budget cuts, I lost my job. And when I lost my job, I ultimately lost my home, I lost my car, I lost everything. I ended up having to file for bankruptcy. And I literally say I'm the first and probably only person on the face of the earth that literally went from presiding over unemployment hearings to having to rely upon an unemployment check. So here I am, I've lost everything. And I'm like, okay, where do we go from here? And so my brother, who's here in Detroit, his name is Art Cartwright. He has an organization called Global Empowerment. And he has a radio show where he encourages people to step out and become entrepreneurs, to become business owners for the purpose of bringing change to the community. And I'm listening to him on the radio and he's like, that invention that you have been dreaming of. He said, that book that's inside of you. He said, those recipes that were handed to you from your mom, your grandmom. He said, those concoctions that you've been mixing in your kitchen. He said, that's a business you're sitting on. And he said, the world needs what you have. And so that's when I had my sudden epiphany, the bells and whistles are going off. I'm like, you know what? He's talking to me, like, what am I doing? Yes, let's dust off those formulations and let's go for it. Because again, I've lost everything. So what do I have to lose, right? So he later, he has a free class to teach you how to incorporate your business. And I took the class, I started my first LLC. And then he announced, he said, hey, Shark Tank is coming to town and they are looking for people to come down and audition. And so again, I've got nothing to lose. And I'm like, you know what? Hey, let's go for it. So I and a group of other people from Global Empowerment, we actually went and we pitched to the Shark Tank team. And as it so happens, believe it or not, their lead person from Shark Tank also suffered from eczema. And of course, I've got my awesome daughter there with me. That was the reason why I started mixing the products in the first place. And so as I'm auditioning and he's sampling the product, my daughter is talking to him and they're commiserating about all of the terrible things about eczema, but how great the product works and how it doesn't, damage or harm your skin. And it feels amazing. And he's just going like right along with it. Like, yeah, you know what? You're right. You're right. And so after that, we successfully got a yes. So I'm in the queue right now. I have not gone to Hollywood yet, but that's something I'm looking forward to happening, hopefully in the very, very near future. So super excited about it. And right after Shark Tank, he announced that Walmart has a program and they're looking for people who have products that are made in America. So what do? My mom and my brother and I, we jump in a hoopty and we drive all the way to Bentonville, Arkansas from Detroit, Michigan. Now, I'll tell you guys, I'd never even been to Arkansas, let alone Bentonville, Arkansas, right? So we drive all the way down there. I go in and I talk to like 3 different buyers that are there that you pitch your products to. And thankfully, I was able to land a deal with Walmart and get the product into their stores. And so then later, my vendor rep that I work with said that Stop and Shop had an opportunity where they were looking for a Black woman-owned, cosmetic product, and asked him, do you know anybody? He's like, yeah, I actually do. And so thanks to that, we're in 300 Stop and Shop stores, just under 300 Walmart stores. And most recently, we just launched in just under 300 Target stores nationwide. So it has been just an awesome and amazing journey for which I am so thankful. It's just, like I said, it's been amazing. And one of the things that we learn at Global Empowerment that I'm really passionate about is just sharing information, making sure that in the same way that My brother, through Global Empowerment, shared the information with me. I want to share and empower others so that you too can be successful and we can see more representation on these national store shelves. And so that's why we're here. That's what I'm about. I'm super excited. As she said, we're looking at opening up a manufacturing facility where we'll be hiring women who have been victims of domestic violence and human trafficking, as well as women who are returning citizens. One of the biggest things about entrepreneurship is that there should also be a why. In other words, to me, being a business owner is not so I can flex and say, huh, I'm in Target, huh, I'm in Walmart. No, it's so that you can empower and help others and bring much needed change in our communities. And so that's my why. I'm super, super passionate about it. Most recently, last week, we had a call and we're actually going to be going into Africa, and we're going to be setting up manufacturing and distribution in Nigeria. And then the next one will be Ghana and hopefully all over Africa at some point. So I'm super excited about that as well. And just being able to bless people that are there. So that's me, that's who I am, and that's my why. And I think it's important going in that you kind of know who the person is that's speaking to you and why I'm so passionate about doing what I do. And I ask everybody who's here getting the information right now, my only ask is that you in turn share the information and be a blessing to others the same way that the information is being shared with you. All right. So that said, let's get started. The first step that I always like to talk about, and it may seem like, well, why are we talking about getting a product? I always like to start with selecting a product. And some might say, well, of course you have a product. Well, there are lots of people who may not have a product, but maybe in the service industry. And I like to encourage those people who are, even if you have a service industry that you're in, to select a product, and ideally a product that enhances the service that you're already providing. And one of the examples that I love to share is that we have, there's another couple, friends of mine here, they just relocated to Vegas, but the wife actually owned a hair salon, and she'd been a cosmetologist for, I'm going to say maybe 20 years, I don't know, but a long time. And she had the salon for a long time. Well, when COVID hit, here in Michigan, everything shut down. All of the salons, massage parlors, everything shut down. Thankfully, she and her husband had been coming to Global Empowerment, where they were encouraged to find a product that supplements your business or enhances what you're doing. And they started selling wigs, and they also had a line of detangler and I think shampoo, moisturizer, a line of hair products, basically. Because they did that, when the pandemic hit, even though the salon was shut down, they were able to get their product into like 500 Walmart stores. And thankfully, and so that's what kept them afloat, is just being able to be launched in that many stores. Most recently, just within the past few weeks or so, they've actually relocated to Vegas, where Walmart is giving them like 800 square feet inside of 1,000 stores to actually sell their products. So it's like they have a store within a store with Walmart. And so I love to share that testimony, because I want to encourage people, again, even if you're in the service industry, to get a product that goes with that service. Because let's face it, at some point, that service industry, you may not be able to physically put the time and the energy that it takes to do that. And if you notice, even a lot of the celebrities, a lot of the musicians, rap stars, what are they doing now? Patty may not be doing concerts all the time, but Patty's sweet potato pies are on the shelf, right, in Walmart's nationwide. And so I just want to encourage you guys, watch the trends that are happening. Rihanna with Fenty, okay, she may not be able to sing and go on tour for the rest of her days, but guess what? That Fenty cosmetic line will stay on the shelf for as long as she desires to, unless she sells it to someone else. So that's my first point. Think in terms of a product that you can provide, because again, that product will be here long after we're all gone, okay? Next, I want to encourage everyone, if you've not already done so, setting up a legal entity. Mine, for example, is Amarra Products LLC. Now, here in the state of Michigan, it's only $50, and it's a 2-page form. And if there are people who are watching who are in the Detroit area, I want to encourage you, come to Global Empowerment, because there's a free class every Tuesday at 6 o'clock that will teach you how to incorporate your business. This is a 2-page form that we're going to walk you through, and it's only $50 here in Michigan. Now, again, I don't know about Ohio and some of the other states, but if you go to your state's website, you can get that information on what it costs. And I want to strongly encourage you to get your LLC. Now, there's nothing wrong with the grind. I understand people are like working out of their kitchen, selling out of the backseat of the car, pulling products out of their trunk. I'm here for all of it. But at some point, you want to go ahead and get established with that LLC, because as you go forth in your business, as you talk to big box retailers, as you apply for the many, many grants that are available right now, they're not going to give that money to you as an individual. That money has to go to your business because it's for your business. So if you have not incorporated, again, go to your state's website and go ahead and set that business up. There's an S Corp, there's C Corp, there's lots of different options, but the LLC is the most economically efficient one that we have here. So I want to encourage you guys to do that. It looks like I've got a question.
Yes, you do.
Yes.
Have you or do you have a broker, or do most of your opportunities come to you organically / via networking or people that you knew?
Yeah, so actually, I do have reps for Walmart, Target, and Stop and Shop. However, they came on after the fact. I actually got in through some of the programs that I'll talk about later that the retailers offer. But that's a great question. We'll go into more detail. So yes, I'm actually doing both right now.
And
Yep,
there's another question too. How
Sure.
did you find your target audience? Skincare lines, like a lot of items, can often be directed to large groups of people. But how were you able to narrow the specific subsets that would purchase your product? Follow up that, how were you able to pinpoint the sweet spot in terms of price to that group of people around pay in order to maximize repeat sales? That's a really good question.
Absolutely, it's a very good question. And
Yeah.
you know what? And I'll tell you, there's no magic answer. There's really not. You learn who your target audience is by pitching it to lots of audiences and then finding out. I spent like $10 here, $10 there running social media ads. And when you run those ads, sometimes it's not really about the number of sales that it'll generate for you, because you may not get a lot of conversions, but you get those analytics. And those analytics will tell you, here's who's watching your ads. Here's who's clicking on your ads that you're running. And in my case, it basically narrowed it down. So I knew that here, you've got a target audience. 87% of the people watching it are females. These are the days. This is the age group. You can get all of those very easily off of, and that's just one way to do it. There's also marketing reps and things like that will pull those analytics for you. But the most efficient way is to spend $5 or $10 running those Facebook and Instagram ads and looking at those analytics as they come back to see what's working for you. Yeah. Great. So step 3 that I want to share with you guys is getting your tax ID number. And let me just give you a heads up. That tax ID number is free. Some will call it an EIN number. You can call or go on irs.gov. They'll assign that number to you. You don't want to pay money for it. I know there's companies that are like, hey, we'll give you a tax ID number and they want you to pay money. You don't want to pay anything for it, but you definitely want to get your tax ID number, because I call that tax ID number like a social security number for your business. And again, as you talk to the retailers and as you go for the different grant opportunities that are out there, they want to know that you have a tax ID number. It's not going under your personal social security number, because again, this is for your business. So if you haven't done that, get your free tax ID number and also your business bank account. Now, I go with Huntington. You can go in once you've got your business name and your tax ID number, you can go in and set up your business bank account. They will give you your business debit card. It's free. There's no minimum balance requirements or anything like that. And these are things that you want to do. You don't want to mix your business with your personal accounts. There need to be clear and separate divisions between them, because again, when you're talking to retailers, when it's time for you to receive your payments, they want to have a business account that's assigned to that business that the monies can go directly into. They will not deposit it into your personal account with your personal social security number. And just by way of background, let me just say this too. Some of you may have this information, but I want to make sure that I cover as broad as possible. So if these are things that you have in place, then awesome, great. But let's think about the people who may not know this information already, okay? Wonderful. Next step is your Dun & Bradstreet number. Now that's another free number that you get that's assigned to you. Some call it a DUNS number. I highly recommend that, because again, that's like getting a credit score for your business. And what they'll do is, as your business grows, different people will look out and they say, well, we want to see the financial stability of this company. We want to see what's going on. We want to see how much money is being generated or what have you. Well, that's where that DNB number comes in. And again, there's lots of companies that may try to sell this to you. You don't have to pay anything for it. It's free. And they may try to upsell you. You don't have to do any of the upselling. Just let them know, look, I just want my DUNS DUNS number. That's all I'm looking for right now. But again, you want to get that in place because those are things that the retailers or the EDI, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, these are the things that they want to see that you already have in place before you go and sit down across the table from them. Okay. Next, and it looks like, wait, is there a question?
Yes, Pamela
Okay.
asked, how do you find distribution for your business?
So when it comes to distribution, there's lots of ways that you can do it. You can go through a contract manufacturer. There's contract manufacturers with the different industries. And so I like to tell people, like, for example, you've got, I'm just going to do sweet potato pies. Let's say you make the world's greatest sweet potato pies in your kitchen. Well, obviously, once you're dealing with big box retailers, you may not be able to bake enough in your kitchen to satisfy the quantities or the demands of the particular retailer that you're doing business with. So that's where you want to find a contract manufacturer. And there are food contract manufacturers, there's cosmetic contract manufacturers, pretty much whatever field there's in, there are manufacturers that will help you mass produce that. You sign an NDA, which is a non-disclosure agreement. And then once you sign that and you share those formulations or recipes with them, they will come back with you. You get to sample it, you can tweak it, and then you can go from there. But that's primarily how that distribution is set up. And don't get me wrong, you can also do it in-house should you choose to. But in doing it in-house, you want to make sure that you've got the capacity and that you've got the equipment that's necessary, because these stores don't want to hear excuses like, oh my God, my stove broke down. No. There's no excuses. So there's timelines within which you have to get those products out there. So you want to make sure, like I said, that you go with a professional company or that you have the staffing, the equipment, everything in place so that you can mass produce them yourself. Okay. Great. So next step, certification. This is a very, very crucial step. Right now, there's what's called the billiondollarroundtable.org, and that is basically an organization of companies that have committed to spending $1 billion a year with woman-owned and minority-owned companies. And that's where they will look and say, okay, is this business certified as being woman-owned? Is this business really minority-owned? So there's lots of certification organizations out there. You can do it on sam.gov for free, the SAM registration. Systems for Awards Management, that's a free certification through the government that you can get. There's also the WBENC, which is the Women's Business Enterprise National Council. There's also the NMSDC, which is the National Minority Supplier Development Council. If you are a veteran, there is vetbiz.org, and you can get free certification if you're a veteran. There are certain ones for LGBTQ, disabilities. There's lots of different certification organizations where you can go and get your business certified. Oftentimes, you know, there may be a certain amount of funding that's set aside where they want to do business with women, or they want to do business with minorities, or they want to do business with veterans. That certification is what opens the door and unlocks those funds for these companies to do business with you. And a lot of people say, well, wait a minute, you know, why do I have to prove that, you know, I am what I say I am? You know, they can look at me and see I'm a female, or they can look at me and see that, you know, I'm a minority. Well, no, the problem is that they want to know that your company really is owned by who you say it's owned by. In years past, you've had people that'll go in and there'll be a sales rep or a representative, and they'll pretend as though they own the company, and they get this $1 billion contract. And later on, the company finds out that that person who sat across the table from them and actually secured that deal was not the owner at all. They were a person that was basically standing in for the owner. And so for that reason, they have certification agencies that you go through that will give you a certification. And basically what this allows the retailers to do is to allow the certification agencies to vet you and do all of the vetting so the retailers don't have to do it. And that's basically how you look at it. So in other words, Target, Walmart, when they want to do business with you, they don't have to go collecting your tax returns and your identification. They don't have to do any of that. The certification agencies have already done that for them. So all you have to do is show them that certification, and then boom, there you are. And the door is open for you. So I strongly encourage everyone to go ahead, get your business certified. Now, like I said, the SAM certification is free. I know with the WBENC and the NMSDC, I think it's $350 a year. And I think with VetBiz, I think that's a free certification as well. But you'll want to look up the respective ones. You can Google them and check, but that's something, like I said, I highly recommend, because the certification piece is what has stopped so many businesses from being able to get on the store shelves, because a lot of people just didn't know. It's like, well, if I'd known I need to be certified, I'd get certified, but I never knew. And so my goal is to let the cat out of the bag, put the information out there so you guys can take advantage of it. Great. Do we have more questions?
Yes. How do you find a contract manufacturer that's legit?
That's a very, very good question. You know, what I highly recommend is that of course, you want to go online, you want to check the Google reviews, you want to see what other companies are saying, because typically with contract manufacturers is B2B. And so if a business takes the time to really like throw shade on another business, you want to pay attention to that, because typically it means that they've had a really, really bad experience. I can share with you guys personally, in my quest for a contract manufacturer of cosmetics, oh my gosh, I went through some serious experiences. There were companies, I literally jumped on a plane. I went out to California in search of, and I can honestly tell you, there was one company where the guy he didn't have business at all. It was a guy on a cell phone in a closet somewhere, a closet of an office, pretending to be a contract manufacturer. So that's a very, very good question. And that's why I literally went out to visit on site. There was another company, when I went there, one of the workers was kind enough to pull me in a conference room, and she said, you know, you seem like a really, really nice person, and I really love what you're trying to do with your business. She said, but I have to be honest with you. And she said, and I hope you don't tell anyone, because I could lose my job for it. She said, but no manufacturing is done here at all. And the company that you thought you were dealing with is not who you're dealing with at all. That company does no manufacturing whatsoever. So yes, there are lots of companies out there that hold themselves out as manufacturers, but you want to make sure that you have an airtight non-disclosure agreement, and you want to ask for a tour of the facility. And if they say, oh, well, you know, the actual manufacturing is off-site, these are just the business offices, then that's a no. If they will not allow you to walk through and actually see what's going on and see people at work manufacturing your particular product, then it's not someone that you want to deal with. So you really have to do the legwork. You've got to go and do the legwork, but trust me, it will be well worth it.
Yeah, I see that you have a question and your hand is raised. So if you want to unmute, please go ahead.
So I wasn't clear on how do we find those contract manufacturers?
For beauty, I literally went and Googled cosmetic contract manufacturers, and they will all pop up. There's lots of them there. There's also, and I'm trying to think, there's also this, but it's like a yellow pages, so I don't recommend it. I recommend going online and actually Googling and seeing it, because if a company's not really advertising that way, then that kind of raises a question too, like, well, what's really going on? Are they legitimately in business? So I recommend, like I said, doing a Google search, finding out who's out there. And also, I use social media for that. And also talking to other people who are in the field, asking them, hey, who's doing your products for you? Are you in-house? Have you reached out to other companies, and asking for referrals as well? So yeah, definitely all of that, all of that. And then once you decide on one, definitely going out and visiting touring the facility yourself.
Do they also make your packaging too?
Yes, actually they can. Now, some people are getting their products overseas. They're using Alibaba, and the companies that are doing that, they send it over like ready to go right on the shelf. So they can handle the packaging for you. They can put your UPC codes on it and everything. So, and that they call it a turnkey operation. So if it says turnkey, that typically means they're doing everything. It's one-stop shopping, and they'll source everything, your jars, your labels, your packaging, everything.
And so another question is, can you please repeat those certifications? You were going real fast.
Sure,
and try to slow down with the letter so we can, because I'm not sure if it's double E or is it, I couldn't hear it properly.
Sure. So the first one that I mentioned was the SAM.gov, and that's the SAM certification through the SBA. The second one was the WBENC, and that stands for the Women's Business Enterprise National Council. And then there's the NMSDC, which is the National Minority Supplier Development Council. And then for veterans, there's vetbiz.org. That's vetbiz.org for veterans. And then some of the other categories that I mentioned were LGBTQ and also disability. And if you Google disability certification, there'll probably be organizations that'll come up as well. Okay. Next up, also your website and social media. Before pitching to buyers in big box retail stores, you want to make sure that you have an e-commerce website that's up and going, where all of your products are on display. And what I highly recommend too on that website is that you have your retail price. Now, bear in mind that the retailers are not going to pay the full retail price for it. So you want to make sure that whatever you're showing on your website is a higher price than what you expect the retailers to pay for it. But you definitely want to have an e-commerce website as well as your social media. The social media piece is so key. There should be a business page set up, and I recommend all of them, that because with grant applications as well as talking to buyers, they want to know. They don't say, do you have any more? It's like, what is your Instagram? What is your Facebook? What's your LinkedIn? What's your Twitter? So you want to make sure that you have those things in place. And also, when you get started, prior to pitching to the big box retailers, I recommend that everybody start off selling on at least 5 different brick and mortars, and also at least 5 different platforms. So for example, I tell people, it's not how you start, it's how you finish, and you never want to despise small beginnings. Now, my first product before I went back to doing the skincare line was I was getting from China wireless Bluetooth headsets, and I had them in a vast array of colors. And so all of the guys had headsets to match all of their jogging suits, and all of the women had a matching headset for all of their church lady suits. I mean, I had something for everybody: red, white, black, orange, green, blue, purple, gold, silver, every color. And what I would do, guys, is that, listen, I was selling those headsets from gas stations. I was taking them to dollar castles. I mean, liquor stores, everybody that would sell them, because you guys know now behind the counter, they had phone chargers, they got all type of gadgets, electronics, and things like that. And so I say that to say, whatever your product is, find them. If it's a mom and pop, if it's the corner store, don't wait for the big box retailers. You know, if you've got a wonderful, whatever, cornbread, sweet potato pies, the world's greatest cookies, or what have you, don't hold out for a Kroger or a Meijer. In order to get to Kroger or Meijer, what they want to know is, what are you doing with the local corner stores? You know what I mean? And here's the other thing I want to share. There's Etsy, there's Shopify, there's eBay, there's Amazon. You want to have your product out there, because big box retailers are not looking for a one-sided relationship. They're looking for partners. And it's a partnership, meaning that you've got to do your end of the work as well. My motto that I always share is that when it sits on the shelf, it does not sell itself. I'll say it again for those in the back. When it sits on the shelf, it does not sell itself. And so what they want to know when you talk to them is, what are you doing? Show me your grind. You know, who are you currently selling to? Do you have followers that will buy the product? Are you part of organizations that will support you? Do you have people that will be behind this product and go into the stores and actually buy it, purchase it from the shelf, or go on a Target.com or Walmart.com and buy it? When you're sitting down for the first time with a buyer and they say, well, where are you selling? And you're like, oh, well, I kind of just got started. And it's like, okay, come back and talk to us once you've got a following and you're out there grinding and you've really put some work into actually selling that product. So I say 5 and 5. If you can't get 5 brick and mortars, it's okay. But my point is, don't despise small beginnings. Don't rule out the mom and pop stores. Don't rule out the dollar castles if your product can fit in there. And you guys know dollar castle, everything is not a dollar. So don't let that be a deterrent, like, well, I don't want it there. No, you want to get it there, because the more doors you're in when you sit down with that buyer, the greater the likelihood that you'll go ahead and get a deal. So you definitely want to do that. Next up, oh, sure, go ahead.
So how is it? Is it that they pre-buy it from you, and then they pre-buy your products from you, and then like you get a percentage of it? Or is it that you just give it to them and then you make whatever is sold? Like, how does that work?
Yes, when you're going to the stores, what you may want to even consider, sometimes people do it on consignment. We have a guy here, he's got paper plates. And what he did was he went into the mom and pop store that his dad and grandpa had supported in the community forever. And he said, listen, this is my new product. I have these birthday cake plates and I would really like it if you could sell them. And he told them, he said, listen, I don't mind doing consignment. I will leave them here, and whatever you do not sell, I will come and pick up. And the guy was like, well, absolutely, we'll take them. And he said, and I'll tell you what, whatever you sell, just give me $1. So you're basically, you're leaving the product there. You're letting people know that it's there. You're telling your friends and family, hey, I'm at the 7 Mile store. Please go buy the product. You're on your social media saying, hey, I'm in the store. Please go out and support. So that when you go back, he'll say, hey, everything's sold out in like 3 days. Give me some more product. That's how you build a relationship. So no, they're not going to pay you up front typically, because again, until you have that brand recognition and it's established, they typically go like, no, we'll pay you when people pay us. With the big box retail stores, you actually ship to them, and it can be 60 to 90 days before you see a dime of it. Because once you ship, they have what's usually a 60 or 90-day net, meaning you go ahead and you ship the product to them. You start getting people to go in and you go and buy that product. And ideally, by the time they have to cut you the first check, the product is already flipped and you're turning it over. But they do not advance any money at all. So everything in terms of getting it to the retailers, getting it in the stores, that's all on your dime. Now, there are what are called factoring companies, and there's purchase order financing company. And what these factoring companies and purchase order financing companies do is that once you get a deal, let's say you're scheduled or you're slated to go into a Target or Walmart, they will give you money based upon that purchase order from Walmart, Target, or whomever. And then once you get your money, then you go back and you pay them back, plus interest, of course, but that's at least advancing you the money so you can get the deal done. And there's a lot of them out there. If you just go, there's Amarra Factors, there's Gateway. Those are funding companies that help businesses basically keep your inventory and things like that so that you can fill those purchase orders when they come in. But the retailers do not do that at all. And most of the local stores don't either. One of the other key items too that I wanted to share with you guys that you'll need when you go in to pitch your product, and I'm going to hold it up here, it's called a pitch deck. I learned about this the hard way. I was calling myself pitching to Target, and the Target person said, oh yeah, send me your pitch, send me your pitch. I'm like, oh sure. And I'm thinking like, what in the world is he talking about? What is a pitch deck? Because I honestly did not have a clue. And it probably took me a good 3 years after that to finally figure out what a pitch deck was, okay? And then when I finally figured it out and I got one, I tried to ease it on over to him like, oh, here's that pitch deck, thinking that he's gonna think I'm just someone off the street. And it's like, Tiffany, it's so good to hear from you. Thank you for sending that over. Can you say embarrassed? Okay, but what you don't know, you don't know. So this is the pitch deck, and this is one of my earlier ones that was put together. And basically your pitch deck is going to be a compilation of all the information that that particular buyer needs in order to select your product and put it on the shelf. And one of the biggest things is just knowing that you need to come to that meeting with the pitch deck. The fact that you now know what it is puts you heads and shoulders above everyone else that may walk in empty-handed. So basically, I'm sorry?
Pitch what?
Pitch deck, D-E-C-K, pitch deck. And so basically it's going to have your company name, your product, all of your hyperlinks are going to be on the front of it. And what I highly recommend—
saying PIT?
Pitch,
Are you
like,
saying
pitch, like your elevator pitch, P-I-T-C-H-D-E-C-K, pitch deck. And so with your pitch, what you want to make sure— Sure, absolutely. This is your pitch deck. And what you want to do is you want to have it bound. You want to get the glossy paper. It's going to have basically your certifications and things along those lines. And what I've since started doing to make it really personal is that if you're pitching to Target, for example, you want to have your logo and Target's logo on that front page. If it's Meijer, you want a Meijer logo on one side and your logo on the other side, showing that you're doing it in the spirit of partnership and just making it personal so they don't think it's just a standard generic pitch deck. You want it to be tailored toward that particular retailer. The other thing that is so important to do while I'm talking about a pitch deck is when you go and you talk to that particular buyer, make sure you have a very good understanding of what they're already selling on the shelf, what's there, what's not there. And also you want to be able to speak to them in terms of where your product fits in. If you haven't walked those aisles, if you're not shopping in that store, if you don't know the different type of promotions and things like that they run, then they're going to want to know, why should we bring your product in? Because you haven't taken the time out to even study who we are as a retailer and what we sell and where we sell it. So when you go in, you should be able to say, hey, I visited your store on 6th Street and I've noticed that my product will be a great fit between Shea Moisture and Tree Hut. And then That needs to be in your pitch deck. So you're going to want to go through a short bio about you and who you are. You want to talk about your brand story. You want to talk about your certifications and things along those lines. Also, yes. Is that a question?
Do you have a format for pitch deck? Yes. Do you have a format for pitch deck?
What they're going to do is they're going to put my email address in the chat. And if you guys want to email me, I'll email you the copy of it. I can do it that way. And then you can just tweak mine and make it your own. Yeah, you want to talk about your product assortment, what you're offering. You want to be able to talk about, we talked about it earlier, who is your target customer? Who's your product geared toward? You also want to talk about what you've done, like this is Shark Tank. Like my brand has been featured in Entrepreneur Magazine, Black Enterprise Magazine, various TV networks, things like that. That's what goes in your pitch. You want to have pictures of all of your products there. You want to be able to speak to where you're currently selling, like we talked about earlier, what retailers you're currently working with, or what platforms you're selling on, be it Amazon, Etsy, eBay, or what have you. You want to let them know that. Also in your pitch deck, you want to make sure that you have your pricing information, your MSRP, manufacturer's suggested retail price, MSRP, your manufacturer's suggested retail price. So you want to be able to tell them what the wholesale cost is and what the retail price is. And also if you have different sizes, we sell a 2 ounce, a 4 ounce, and 8 ounce. You want to make sure that you provide that information as well, okay? The other thing is when you go in and you pitch your products to retailers, you want to make sure that you have GS1 barcodes on the products. GS1.org is where you want to order them from. And I'll let you guys know that there are lots of companies out there that'll say, hey, you know, you can get barcodes for $10 or what have you. There are lots of people out there that will sell you a barcode as well. You don't want to do that. And the reason why is because barcodes are registered to an individual business. So when you go and you buy a bootleg barcode or secondhand barcode, an aftermarket barcode, and you sell products, then that person, that company that the barcode is registered to, they're going to be the ones to get credit for those sales. And I don't think anybody wants to have that happen. So you want to make sure that you get them directly from GS1, that they're registered under your company name with GS1. And the reason that's so important is, and I'm going to do this demonstration, when you get the barcodes from GS1, they're going to sell you typically a case of 10. I've heard you can get 100 at a time, but this is what's called the each. These are individual labels for Glam, which is my brand, Glam Body Scrubs. So for each Glam Body Scrub that's on the shelf and every product that's on the shelf, you guys know they all have a barcode, and this is what allows it to scan with big box retailers. So if there's no barcode on the product, then they can't sell it to the general public. So it has to be registered, it has to be set up. Now, the other reason it's important to get them directly from GS1 is because GS1 will assign you what's called your each. Now that each is then going to be built into what's called a family of barcodes. So when I ship these to Walmart and Target, every individual jar, every each has a barcode on it. Brown sugar, for example, the UPC code is 864-636-000359. And it doesn't matter where you go and you buy Glam Bubbling Brown Sugar barcode, or I'm sorry, product, wherever you buy my scrub, Target, Walmart, Whole Foods, whomever, it's going to have that same 864-636-000359. Now, from that individual barcode, you're going to have what's called an inner case pack. And when you talk to the buyers, you want to let them know what size that inner case pack is. So when I ship my products to Target and Walmart and Stop and Shop, my inner case is 12. And there's a separate barcode that's an extension of that each. And this is the barcode that goes on every case of 12 that I ship to either Target or Walmart. So if your each number is from some other company and it's wrong, then guess what? Your family number is going to be wrong, meaning that the distribution centers that you ship your product to are not going to be able to scan it because the number is not going to register. So for example, on this one, which is my inner case pack, the actual number that's on it is 20-864-636-000353, which is again, a variation of the same barcode. Now, that goes into a larger box. either 4 cases of 3 or 3 cases of 4. And that's the actual case that goes directly to Walmart's distribution center or Target's distribution center. And that one has a barcode as well. And so when we're setting these numbers up, it's so important that we start with that each, your inner case, and then when it actually ships, I'm going to show you guys these labels. This is what actually goes to either Target or Walmart. So if you guys can see that here, we've got my company name, we've got Target's distribution center, we have the case pack of 12, the purchase order number, what the product is, and the barcode. And this has to go on every shipment that goes to the big box retailer.
Hi.
So you want to make sure that you're, again, going to gs1.org and getting those barcodes.
Someone's phone
No,
is not
I'm at
muted.
all.
Someone's
Can
phone
everyone
is not
please
muted.
mute? Excuse me, I need everyone to please mute.
You where?
Please mute everyone. Thank you. So again, that's gs1.org. That was my inner case and my warehouse pack. You want to have those things in place, ideally, when you go to talk to the buyers, because again, they can't do anything with it if there's not a GS1 barcode on there. The other thing, liability insurance. Now, typically the retailers want you to carry a $2 million policy. Don't throw stones, don't gas, it's okay. Typically that $2 million policy may cost you $30, $40 a month, depending on what the product category is and where you get the insurance from. But they typically do want a $2 million policy in place. And the reason is because, God forbid, somebody uses body scrub and say, oh, this body scrub didn't work for me. Listen, Walmart and Target and Stop and Shop and Meijer and Kroger, they don't want any litigation at all. So it's up to you and your company to defend that. And that's why you have the liability insurance in place, okay? And again, typically it's a $2 million policy. If it's something different, they'll usually tell you that. Also, a capability statement. Your capability statement, and I think I may have given away the last one, but anyway, capability statement is what you have, and you can put it inside your pitch deck. They want to know how many units can you produce over what period of time. So for example, we may be able to do 50, 100 or so at a time at home. But when you're dealing with the big box retailers, they may say, okay, we're going to start you off in 500 stores and we want to put 10,000 units in each store. So how soon can you get the 50,000 units? How many is your manufacturing facility able to produce per week, per month? And they want to have that information going in, because what they don't want to do is they don't want to give you an order and draft that PO and give it to you, and then you're not able to ship to them on time. So that capability statement basically tells them all of your certifications. It tells them that you got your manufacturing set up, and it tells them what you're capable of producing over what period of time. Next up is your EDI. EDI stands for Electronic Data Interchange, okay? When Walmart, Target, Stop and Shop deal with you, they're not dealing with your personal bank account. They're not putting any money under your social security number. They go through what's called EDI. And what the EDI company does, for example, I use Data Trans, DATATRANS. On a lot of the applications, they'll say, are you EDI compliant? This is what they're looking for. Your EDI company, you set that up. And when Walmart or Target, for example, today's Monday, my EDI company sends me an email, basically a you've got mail, and they tell me you've got purchase orders from Target, you've got purchase orders from Walmart. So Walmart sends my purchase orders to the EDI company. They in turn send them over to me. Then I go and I log onto my EDI, and that's where I print off all of the purchase orders. And they tell me, okay, Target wants X amount of brown sugar, X amount of strawberry, X amount of lemon scrubs. And then it tells you where you're sending them to. For example, on the sheet that I showed you guys, this was for lemon body scrub, and it's going to Albany. And for both of them, but it may be going to New York, it may go to California, it may go to Texas, but that's what your EDI is for. They'll tell you what to ship, when to ship, and where to ship to.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes. So what exactly is the purpose of having an EDI? Because I have stores that I send my sauce to, and they just email me their purchase orders, right? So what exactly is the purpose of the EDI?
Now, The EDI, again, that's when you're talking about the Walmarts and the Targets of the world.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you may have, so if you have like your local restaurants that you're dealing with, or let's say local stores that you're shipping to, they typically are not going to require EDI, because typically, like you said, you send them an invoice, you drop your products off, they catch, sometimes they may pay out a cash register, they may write you a check to your business. So this is only, again, when you're talking about the big box retailers. The other stores, they definitely don't require it. And so you don't need EDI to deal with most of the local stores at all.
Okay, so
But when you're
unless,
talking about the big box retailers,
unless my product is in a big store, then I don't have to worry about that, right? Right now, right?
yeah, if you're not trying to get into
Okay.
big box retailers, you don't. But when you go in and you apply for Target and Walmart, they want to know, are you EDI compliant? And you want to
Okay,
be able
that
to tell
makes
them
sense. Okay.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
There's other
Yes.
questions in the chat. Do you want to take them now or later?
Sure,
Whatever
go
you
ahead. We
prefer.
can do it
Yes,
now.
okay. So how many products did you launch your skincare business with?
So I actually have 7 different scrubs that I presented. And just to give you guys an example, Meijer, the local store here, I'm in 2 of their stores. They only started off with 4 of them, and they only ordered 8 units of the 4. So they started off by only ordering 32 units total. Okay, and that was it. Walmart has 5 of the 7, and Target has 4 of the 7. So you want to present everything you have, and then the buyer is the one who ultimately decides what they want to go with. They may not take your whole assortment. They may start off with 1 just to see how you're doing with it. They may take 2 or 3, but that's totally at your buyer's discretion. You want to show them everything you've got. You want to be able to speak to what your best sellers are, and you want to let them know why they should pitch or why they should place the ones that you want them to place. But ultimately, it's the buyer's decision.
Okay. And then another question for Pamela. Did you get your products tested or approved before you start selling it?
That's a very good question. So what you want to do with your testing, I tell people, particularly with cosmetic products and with food products, you don't want to go and pay thousands of dollars to different companies to test the products, because the retailers have their own individual companies that they deal with. So for example, with the body scrubs, I can go pay ABC company $4,000 or $5,000 to so-called test my products. But at the end of the day, when you go and you pitch it to Walmart and Target, they have a company, for example, it's called Works, WRCS. Both Target and Walmart, I'm sorry, all 3, Target, Walmart, and Stop and Shop use the Work system, and you have to pay them to test your products. So I highly recommend that you wait until that particular retailer tells you who they want to test your products with, or the company that they use, and that's who you want to test with. Another person at Global Empowerment has garbage bags, and asked that same question. And the person told me, she said, listen, Meijer has certain companies that we get our garbage bags from, that we source them with, and we have certain companies that we want to test our garbage bags. So there's no point in you going and spending the money until that retailer tells you with whom you should spend that money. But that's a very, very good question.
And then do you have to pay the big box brands fee for being on their shelves?
It depends on who the retailer is. I know that right now I've not had to pay any sliding fees at all for any of the retailers. So I don't know what all of them do, but I can only speak for the ones I'm with now, and there have not been any sliding fees at all or any shelving fees at all. But I also tell people that when your product gets picked up by a big box retailer, basically all they're giving you is an opportunity. Okay, that's it. It's an opportunity and nothing more. So yeah, you get a spot on the shelf, but everything else that happens in terms of moving your product and getting those sales and conversions, it falls squarely upon you. So, and if they happen to promote it in some way, then that's like absolutely awesome and amazing. But again, it's not something that they're expected to do or required to do. Now, thankfully, like with Target, I'm super, super excited. Target actually has my picture and my founder story in some of the stores that I'm in. And this was something that they actually provided at no cost to me. So I'm super, super excited about that. So yeah, they've got a picture and a founder story, but that's not the way it typically runs. But they did do that. Stop and Shop actually has a savory magazine that they send to all of their customers. And so for February, they actually feature my brand, and they did a story or a write-up about it in their magazine. But again, that was something that the retailers provided as a courtesy. It's not something that's typical. It's not something they ordinarily do. Normally, all of the advertising, the merchandising, that falls on you.
There's Anita, you have your hand raised first. Anita, go ahead and unmute yourself. or put it on the chat, please.
Okay.
Oh,
Teresa?
Yes. I need her to talk about global empowerment again. Do I go there? I mean, can you tell me about that again?
Yes, absolutely. You just show up as 17910 Van Dyke between 6 and 7 Mile. Every Tuesday at 6 o'clock, there's a free class to teach you how to incorporate your business, and a regular business meeting at 7 o'clock.
And
the
that's where?
17910 Van Dyke.
17910 Van Dyke. You want to spell
Yes.
Van Dyke for me?
And that's in Detroit.
Oh, it's in Detroit.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Great.
Tiffany.
Yes.
May I ask how much did you pay for the testing? If you don't mind sharing how much you paid for the testing.
You know, that's a good question. You know what? And to be honest with you, I cannot remember. They set it up per item. Golly, it's been a while, honestly. And it may have been about $600 for each SKU. And don't quote me on that, but I think it was about $600 per SKU.
What do you mean by SKU?
So that's like for every item that you have. So for example, if you have 7 SKUs and the retailer wants 7, so you're paying $7 for each one. So for example, my brown sugar, that's under 1 SKU. The lemon is another SKU. The strawberry is another one. Lavender is another one. So each product that you have in your assortment has a different UPC code that'll have a different SKU, which is the stock keeping unit number that's registered under. So each one has to be tested, even though it's the same brand, they all have to be tested independently. And the system, like I said, is WERCS. And that's who the testing was required from, like I said, all of the retailers that I'm dealing with right now. But again, I don't recommend that you spend the money yet, because you want to wait. So let's say you've got, like in my case, you may have 7. Well, if Walmart only picks 2, then you don't have to pay for testing for all 7 yet. You only have to pay for testing for the 2. But the good part is that I had to pay the work system, but I don't know if you guys have ever shopped on Target online. So Target has badges that they assign. Because I had done the testing already, Target has assigned me, I get their clean badge, which lets people know that I have clean ingredients in my product. So those badges kind of come with it as well, which is a plus. That comes by virtue of having the testing, because they test everything, all of the chemical components of everything. It's all been tested, and that gives that retailer confidence that they can put it on the shelf. And it also gives consumers or customers the confidence of knowing what they're putting on their skin or ingesting in the case of a food product.
And also, can I add something real quick? I know you're talking about beauty products. I have my sauce, and when I use the manufacturer that produce my sauce, they are already FDA, like an FDA facility already. So they provide all the testing for my sauce, because with food, I had to do testing in advance before I can be retail ready. So every industry is probably different. And I know that you're talking about your experience. So you might have to do a little bit of research. And if you're in the food business, it might be a different process.
The other thing too, for those who have food, I know that here, I just have to say, Global Empowerment, there's over 300 people that are on the store shelves, and I want to say over half of that probably is food. So I know that some of them have USDA certifications that they've gotten through USDA. They've actually had their inspectors come out on site and give them the different certifications. Also, I don't know about in Ohio, but you may want to check with your local universities as well. I know here in Michigan State University is working with a lot of businesses that have food products that they want to get on the shelf. So they're really assisting and helping with funding for some of the testing and things like that, and also letting them know what the requirements are for the food products. So you may want to reach out to the respective colleges and universities in your respective city or state to find out, what they may be able to provide for you as well, to make sure that you have all of those requirements met. But the retailers will let you know for your particular industry what it is that's needed. They will definitely let you know what the requirements are in case they're not all in place. And for those who joined the call late, just by way of background, I was speaking of Global Empowerment. That's an organization here in Detroit that trains people or teaches people how to get products onto store shelves. And it's where I learned everything I know about dealing with big box retailers. And so it's how I'm able to share that same information with all of you. So it is here in Detroit. And I know that not everybody is able to get here and go to it. So that's why I'm trying to make the information available for people who are outside of the state of Michigan who don't reside in Detroit, so you guys can still get the same wonderful information that we are so blessed to get here at Global Empowerment. There is a radio show that comes on every Sunday that you guys can tune into on the Detroit Praise Network. If you just go to their website, click on the Listen Live, you guys can tune into the radio show, and also on globalempowerment.net.
I just wanted to thank you to Miss Tiffany for taking the time out of your day to share this information with us free of charge. I really appreciate that, because I just want to make sure that you know how grateful some of us are, because I haven't heard a lot of people thank you for spending your time with us right now. So I just want to extend that over to you to let you know you're doing a great job, and I appreciate you. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much. No, I really appreciate that. You know, it's really all about lifting as we climb. So that's why I'm here. And like I said, I just ask that that you guys share the information and be a blessing and help others. You know, let's not keep this information secret. You know, I don't purport to know everything. I'm still learning as I'm going as well. This is all new to me. Like I said, I just launched in Target a few weeks ago. So I don't have all the answers, but I'm trying to share the information that I do have in the hopes that it will bless and help other people. So thank you for that.
And you did say you would leave your email address. My name is Andrea, by the way. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. I too have a clean skincare brand. So did you say you were going to leave your email address in the chat for some of us?
Yes.
I put it in the chat already.
In the chat for everyone. Amarra Naturals. You guys can just use my Gmail. My personal Gmail is fine. AmarraNaturals@gmail.com.